Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I am a Western astrologer and twin flame channel. And this is a video for the Sagittarius full moon for twin flames. So here is the full moon here at 25 degrees Sagittarius, sitting almost conjunct Jupiter. And this is a very interesting full moon. I think I might have mentioned, or I know I definitely mentioned in one of my other videos that with the Gemini new moon, we had a union window opening for twin flames, where the possibility and the opportunity for coming together had begun for some twins who are ready for that. If you're noticing for you and your twin that this isn't quite the right time, or a new cycle had begun, but it's a cycle that um, is calling for doing work on your own, there are some good reasons for that. And I'm going to dig into some of them now. This chart for the Sagittarius full moon has a lot of air placements in it. In addition to having strong air, strong fire, it also has a lot of cardinality. Cardinal signs are all about initiations and beginnings, and a lot of mutable placements. Mutable signs are all about flexibility and going with the flow and sitting at the exchange point of transformation. With this much energy that speaks to change and being up in the air as opposed to fixed or earth energy, this is a moment of transition for a lot of twins. And the downloads that I've been getting about it as we move into this cycle have everything to do with calling your shot. This is an energy that's really about naming what it is you want and trusting the co-creation with the divine to bring it to you, whether it is with your twin or someone or something better, if you can imagine that that's even possible. So let's dig into some of the placements here. We've got one of the challenging things that I don't love seeing here is there's a couple of challenging things. There's definitely a reckoning with truth with this full moon, because full moons tend to bring things to culmination, bring things to light. There's been this building square all year between Jupiter and Neptune. This square in the shadow can really be about over optimism and deception. And especially with this kind of energy that we have, the strong air, strong mutability, strong cardinality, it's a little bit of getting carried away with ourselves, not seeing things for what they really are. And in your union chart with your twin, what we would take a look at is where the two of you may be at this time, relying a little bit too much on faith and not on your work in order to make things happen, to move forward, because you want to actually leverage your work as just as much as your faith in this particular cycle. In a chart that looks like this, let's just say this was a certain set of twins union chart, what I would say is that there is a little bit of there's a little bit of kind of thinking like hopeful, like, oh, it'll just all work out, it'll just all fall into place, particularly as it pertains to things related to where we're going, how we're going to get there, our spiritual connection. We're just so spiritually connected that everything's going to work out for us here in the seventh house. But what is actually they're being called to look at, if this were a union chart, is some ways in which they may let certain patterns linger on too long, that they both need to let go of as it pertains to money in particular, given the way this particular chart is set up and the way that they're using money from others in order to create the lives that they're manifesting. So this particular money is kind of grants, loans, debts, tax returns, inheritances, that kind of thing, divorce money. There's this kind of sense that, oh, it'll just fall into place and work out, when actually what's being asked of them is to clean up some karma around the way they've handled money and the way that impacts the way they live their lives. So if you're curious about how this plays out in your chart with your twin, let's set up some time to take a look at the union chart. You can email me at chrysalismoon@gmail.com, KRYSALISMOON@gmail.com. Because you're going to want to get a handle on this energy while you're mid-cycle, because at this moment there's a lot of opportunity for illumination with Mercury conjunct the North Node here in Cancer, and Mars here in Cancer as well. There's a lot of opportunity for both, oh, I get it, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, how I'm supposed to be cleaning this up, and I also get it that if I clean this up, there's now room for me and my twin to potentially come together. And in addition to that, with Mars sitting here, there's also motivation to do it as well. And a lot of ambition and drive to get it done that's going to come naturally to you at this time. So this is an opportunity where not only do you know what to do, but there's also energy to get it done. Another thing that I've noticed about this chart that I also that I find really interesting, if your twin has been with a karmic soulmate and learning lessons through that relationship, you can see here the symbol of the divine masculine sitting out here with the moon, which is needs, but opposite Venus. And when I read for twin flames, you know, Venus represents the attraction point in a chart, but Venus can also represent karmic relationships. And so with Jupiter, the divine masculine opposite the karmic soulmate, there's a little bit of tension there. There's a little bit of, especially under the light of the full moon, some interesting energy around exposing where they're not on the same page that's going on, and exposing ways in which your divine masculine starting to get more and more clear about the work that needs to be done in order to bring his life into balance and toward the goals and aims that he has for himself, that's Sagittarius. And there's also a bit of exposure about ways that she may not be aligned with that at this time. Now for the divine feminine out here, here's Juno in Cancer. Let's see, she's having some interesting conversations herself. We've got, yes, Uranus square. Here's Uranus here at 5 degrees Taurus. We've got Uranus almost in square to her symbol here. And there's a little bit of tension around coming together, whether you interpret her as the divine feminine or you interpret Juno as partnership for twin flames who, you know, this is their union window and they are coming into union. There's some tension here, some things that need to get worked out around the way we thought this was going to be, the way we thought this was going to feel, and the way it actually is. With Uranus here in Taurus, breaking up routines and breaking up patterns and breaking up old ways of dealing with money and ways we've nurtured and taken care of ourselves so that we can channel more divinity, squaring off with Juno here in Cancer, who's really just looking to create home and nurturing and a lot of feminine emotional sustenance. With that kind of square going on, there's almost this kind of like, the energy I'm getting for the divine feminine is like, come on, really? Like, I've done so much work already. Are you kidding me? There's more to do. This still isn't ready. This still has a long way to go. Like, I'm still in this place, or we're still dealing with X, Y, or Z. Yes, we are. For the divine feminines listening to this message, the invitation on the table has to do with allowing that tension to show you the third way. For those of you who are familiar with Harry Potter books, there's a reference I've been giving a lot to my clients lately. Um, it's this, like, as twin flames, Muggle solutions don't live aren't our solutions. You don't look for wizard solutions inside Muggle books. They're just not for you. So the ways in which you might normally deal with a challenge, as you know, in a normal relationship, like, oh, uh, he said he would call and he didn't call, and so now I have to rework all of my plans, which I'm not going to do, and therefore we're not going to see each other. The twin flame dynamic really calls for a lot more channeling of the divine, channeling of unconditional love, channeling of deeper understanding, and willingness, a willingness to understand, to forgive. And that's Uranus all the way. Uranus gives that kind of direct energy from heaven, and allows it to be channeled in whatever sign and to whatever planet it's also touching. So, in tension with the divine feminine, there is some level of you're being asked to step up. We all are. We're being asked to step up when it comes to unconditional love, to play a bigger game, to create more forgiveness without compromising who you really are and what you really need. There is a both and solution when a square is in place that you are being asked to put on the table, that is something uncharted and unseen in the world of normal relationships. Because recall, as twin flames, you know, we're here to rewrite um, the way standard relationship games are played. We're not here to re-solidify those patterns. We're here to create new ones, to break the mold. And with this Juno square Uranus, which is going to continue to build in tension over the next 4 to 6 weeks, you're really being asked to step into that. So, a couple of other things that, let's see. Right. So we've got this energy, this Mercury, Mars, and North node sitting opposite this energy, Pluto, Saturn, and South node. With this sort of teeter-totter seesaw, here's everywhere we're meant to go, the direction we're meant to travel, the illumination of that direction, and motivation to get there. Here's everything we need to clean up before it's even possible. If you are starting to feel a little bit restless, that's why there's this tension between knowing it's time to go, knowing it's time to move on certain things for yourself, for your connection, and simultaneously recognizing, oh, the dishes are still not done, the bills are still not paid, the house still isn't sold, but you can see on the horizon, like, it's so close, everything that you want in your connection. So if that tension is there, just work with balancing it, is what I would say. This moment in time is meant to illuminate the tension, illuminate what needs to get done in order for potential union to come closer. And to illuminate for you if this new cycle that just began is a cycle for you and your twin toward coming together, or if this new cycle that just began is a cycle about you and your twin kind of learning some things on your own. I've definitely spoken to several twins who are moving into a cycle of individual learning and development as the union window open, and they're leveraging this energy to create deeper union within self. And there will be more union windows over the next several years that they will potentially come together within. So don't despair if you're finding yourself moving into a cycle of individual growth and learning. That's 1000% appropriate at this time. especially given the heavy energy the divine masculine is moving within. There's just a lot on their plate at this time. I talked about this in the divine masculine's new moon, the Aries new moon this year, that video. So please have a look at that if you haven't, because that energy is in play all year for divine masculines. And that'll help with some of the understanding of what they're up against and why they may not be available as the divine feminine moves into a cycle of more gentleness, more femininity, and more availability. Okay, let's see what else is going on in here. Let's see. Eris. Yeah, okay. So here's the other thing. Here we have Eris. The symbolism for Eris, she's in the mythology around Eris, has to do with a bit of being disenfranchised and really not knowing how to deal with being excluded or left out. And in response to that energy, choosing to retaliate, to stand up for oneself, even when it's not elegant or eloquent. We've got this Eris squaring all of this South Node energy here that the divine masculine's in the middle of working through. So if you're finding a little bit of act out behavior from your divine masculine, this is why. The same way the divine feminine has this tension, asking her to step into more unconditional love, there's a similar tension at play for the divine masculine, where he's learning how to tame himself and tame the part of him that would rather act out instead of maturely going about getting his needs met in a methodical way. That's going on. So know that if you're getting weird signals, weird communication, or things that are they just seem tit for tat or retaliatory, if you continue to stand in the energy of unconditional love, it'll help him to energetically shift too, because as twins, you know you're one soul. So flood the connection with love. And if you're a divine masculine listening, definitely step into play the new game, play the bigger game, be the bigger person, and you will be surprised at who she becomes in the face of you choosing to be a bigger person. Okay. So there's something that I'm being led to talk about. I'm not quite sure why, but I keep getting a nudge about it. It's this energy here. Here's Pholus, and it's Pholus trine Uranus here. So here's Uranus out here in Taurus, and here's Pholus here in Sagittarius. All right, I'm starting to get it. All right, so with Pholus, you may have heard me speak about Pholus in some of the other videos. I won't get too deep into the astrology here, or the mythology, but Pholus tends to represent self-sacrifice. Pholus is a centaur that also represents ways in which we become collateral damage to other people's poor judgment, or other people's needs. When you see Pholus in a chart, the house and the sign and the placement of it and the planets that it touches represent that until you've evolved past it, Pholus really represents ways in which it almost feels like you can never get it right and you have no great choices. So Pholus trine Uranus is just making it really easy for all of us, but in particular to divine masculine, to find themselves in a place of unexpected material sacrifice, because these are earth signs. This is a little bit of unexpected, I didn't plan to have to give this up, and now the universe is taking it away from me energy going on here. And this could be happening for divine feminines too, especially as Uranus is square here to Juno. With this Pholus, trining Uranus in this way, one of the things that may trip us all up in this window has to do with feeling like, but I can't give that up. I need that. And there's some really tricky choices here between the home that I live in and the family I've got, and potentially being with the person that I love, or the money I've made and the life that I've built and the legacy I've created, and the opportunity to experience, the love that I have with my twin. There's a little bit of, it's almost like the energy of it is like something material is getting kind of sucked away, as the twins continue to move toward the love they have for one another. Some level of sacrifice, that is kind of like divinely requested, in order to make this happen. So here's what I want to say about that. If you're having the experience, if you're listening to this and you're having the experience of, but I wasn't ready to give that up, it's okay. This is a slow moving transit. You've got some time to sort through how to make this work in a way that doesn't leave you destitute or homeless, or your children destitute or homeless. That's not what we want here. That's not the request. But what is being requested, what the invitation is to look at, okay, if you've built it before, it can be built again. And not only that, but with Uranus sitting in Taurus and the divine kind of sitting there in Taurus, giving you direct access to what's possible to create by your own hand, anything that you've built before that you've been asked to give up at this time, it is possible to recreate it again. That's what I'm getting as I see this. But it's really going to take some faith. And that's Vesta here sitting conjunct Uranus. It's going to take some faith that it's possible. But by stepping into that sacrifice at this time, especially with Chariklo bookending the initiation point of that sacrifice here in Capricorn, by stepping into it willingly, it just ensures that it's possible to recreate that which you feel like you might be losing at this time. If you'd like to know how all of this is playing out in your chart or in your union chart, email me at chrysalismoon@gmail.com, KRYSALISMOON@gmail.com. I would love to do a reading for you. You'll get an autoresponder first that maps out how to book your reading, and then I take the time to read everyone's email individually. So I look forward to reading for you. Thank you.